Am I pretty? A modern Kuchisake onna setting, suburban Tokyo. Evening, it's raining. Main character, Sora, a 14-year-old boy. He's just come home from cram school, which is after school education for those of you who don't know. And he's taking the long way home because, well, the short way is actually closed off due to construction. But really, that's not why he's taking this route. He knows a shortcut through the quiet back streets that'll get him home faster. Unfortunately, his phone is dead and his earbuds are tangled, so he's alone with only the sound of the rain and the distant hum of traffic. He passes the same boarded up barber shop, the same rusted bike rack, and then at the edge of the next alley, he sees her, a woman standing in the rain. She's wearing a red coat and has long flowing black hair. Her head is tilted as if listening to something, and covering her face is a white surgical mask. Sora stops. He doesn't recognize her, but there's something about her posture, the way she's holding herself, that both intrigues and startles him. Hesitantly, he approaches. "Excuse me," she says softly. "Do you think I'm beautiful?" Sora jumps. Startled by her sudden question, he looks at her, really looks at her. He can see the wet pavement beneath her feet, the dark opening of the alley behind her. He can see the red of her coat, the black of her hair, the white of her mask. But what he can't see, what he doesn't want to see, is the face behind that mask. She takes a step forward. "Please," she whispers. "I need to know." Sora feels a chill crawl up his spine. This is no ordinary woman. There's something unnatural about her, something that preys on his burgeoning fears. But before he can make a decision, she disappears into the rain, vanishing around the bend. Sora hesitates. Should he call out for her? Ask if she's okay? Curiosity tugs at him, but fear holds him fast. He wants to run, to get away, but his feet seem rooted to the spot. Then, mustering all his courage, he calls out, "Hey, are you okay?" No answer. Only the sound of the rain and the echo of his own voice. With a deep breath, he breaks into a run, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. As he turns the corner, he sees her again. This time she's closer, maybe 20 feet away. And as he watches, mesmerized, she raises her head and he sees it. A gash, a wide, bloody gash that splits her face in two. She's smiling. Or rather, she's showing him the remnants of a smile. Sora screams, turning and running, the image of the woman seared into his mind. The Kuchisake onna, the slit-mouthed woman, a yokai, a monster from Japanese folklore. And now he knows the answer to her question. The real question is, do you want to know what she looks like? Because once you do, it's already too late. That was Am I Pretty? A modern Kuchisake onna. If you enjoyed this story, please leave a like and subscribe. And if you have your own creepypasta stories you'd like to share, send them to the email below. Until next time, happy reading. Scene 2. First answer Sora froze. His mother had warned him about this. Stories told in hushed voices, warnings passed around at school like urban spells. Say nothing and she kills you. Say no, and she kills you. Say yes, and she shows you the rest. Still Sora answered, quietly, "Yes, you're very pretty." She giggled. A gloved hand reached up, peeled back the mask. Her mouth stretched from ear to ear. Split raw, twisted in a grotesque grin. "Even now?" Sora stammered, taking a step back. His mind raced. Was this a trap? Had he just made a terrible mistake? He felt trapped, the walls closing in, the air growing thick and suffocating. Her eyes, they burned into him, boring a hole through his facade of bravery. He had to say something, anything to break the tension. To his horror, his brain seemed to have short-circuited. What was he supposed to say? How could he escape this situation? Then he remembered the stories, the urban legends whispered in dark corners. They say she lures you in with beauty, traps you with charm, and then, well, No one really knows what happens after that. Some say you vanish without a trace. Others say you join the chorus of whispers in the walls. He had to get out. He had to warn the others. But as he turned to go, a gloved hand shot out, stopping him in his tracks. Her smile widened, if that was even possible. The hand tightened its grip, digging into his shoulder. Sora cried out, struggling to free himself. He kicked out, trying to find purchase, but it was no use. He was trapped, held fast by an invisible force. Her laughter echoed around him, filling him with a nameless dread. Then she leaned in close, her voice a raspy whisper in his ear. "Don't you want to stay here with me forever?" He wanted to scream, to tear himself free from her grasp, but no sound escaped his lips. All he could do was stare into the abyss of her smile, the manic glee in her eyes, and wait for the inevitable. For the longest moment, time seemed to stand still. Then, as quickly as it began, the pain vanished. Sora slumped to the ground, his vision blurring. Was it over? Had she let him go? Or had he simply imagined the whole thing? Was he awake or was he dreaming? As darkness closed in around him, all he could think was, why did she let him live? The alley was narrow, barely enough room for two people to stand without bumping into each other, but Sora didn't care. His eyes were fixed on the woman in front of him. Her back was against the wall, her legs like porcelain, her hair a mess of tangled black. She looked like a frightened bird, huddled and waiting for a predator to strike. Except he wasn't a predator. He was just a guy who liked cute girls and wanted to say hi. But she turned around, her eyes flashing, and that's when he panicked. What did he do? Why did he come to this part of town? Was this a one-way ticket to getting murdered? Thinking fast, Sora's heart slammed in his chest. He remembered the trick from a forum post. Distract her, confuse her. Candy if you have it. His hands trembled. No candy, no time. Then he blurted out, "You're average." The woman blinked. Average? Like a 7 out of 10? She paused. The rain seemed to freeze around them. 7? Not an 8? Well, I mean, beauty is subjective, he stammered, praying that she wouldn't rip his head off. But instead of getting mad, the woman laughed. It was a strange sound, like wind chimes in a graveyard. "You're funny," she said, tilting her head. "You're not like the others." He felt his face getting hot. "What do you mean?" "They're all so busy staring at their phones," she said, gesturing to the street with a flick of her wrist. "They don't see me. They don't see anything. But you're different." He opened his mouth to respond, but she cut him off. "I like you," she whispered, stepping closer. "You're not like the rest of them." And before he could think of a witty reply, she pressed her lips against his. It was soft and warm and everything he had ever dreamed of. Sora melted into the kiss, his arms wrapping around her waist, pulling her close. She tasted like strawberries and rain, and he couldn't help but think this was the best day of his life. Then she pulled away, her eyes shining in the darkness. "I'm glad you came to see me," she murmured. "I knew you would understand." "Understand what?" He wanted to ask, but she was already gone, disappearing into the shadows, leaving him alone in the empty alley. Sora stood there for a long time, the taste of her lips still on his tongue, the feel of her body pressed against his a phantom sensation on his skin. He knew he should leave, but he couldn't bring himself to move. And as the minutes ticked by, he realized that this wasn't just a kiss. This was the beginning of something new, something exciting, something terrifying. Because this girl, whoever she was, had awakened something inside of him that he had never felt before. And he knew, with a certainty that shook him to his core, that his life would never be the same again. Scene 4. Cracks in the mask, she tilted her head. Her grotesque grin twitched. She looked unsure. Sora stepped back. "You asked me, but I have bad taste. I think frogs are cute." She blinked again, He stepped further away, slowly, umbrella trembling. Some people might say you're beautiful. Others might say you're terrifying. Who's to say what's true? The woman's smile faltered. Her slit mouth twitched unnaturally, as if confused by contradiction. Her head snapped to one side. Am I pretty? It came out garbled now, like a corrupted tape. Sora swallowed, his throat dry. He wanted to run, but his legs felt heavy as if with lead. It's just that, he stammered, searching for an escape. Your face, he whispered. It's so pale. And your eyes, they're like marbles. Beautiful, yes, but cold. And that smile, it's a little, he struggled to find the right word. Stretched too thin, I think. Too tight. The woman remained motionless for a moment, her gaze fixed on him. Then she did something that made Sora's blood run cold. She smiled wider, her lips pulling taut over her teeth like a puppet. Too tight, she echoed, her voice a hollow rasp. Do you want to see something truly terrifying, Sora? He wanted to scream, to bolt, to do anything but stand there frozen like a fool. But before he could react, she was on him, moving with a speed that belied her cumbersome mask. In one fluid motion, she loomed over him, her face inches from his, her eyes boring into his. The stench of decay hit him full force, making him dizzy. What? He choked out, scrambling back, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. She tilted her head, the grotesque grin unwavering. I am the embodiment of terror, she hissed, each word a venomous whisper. I am the nightmare that haunts your waking hours. I am the darkness that consumes your soul. And you, she pressed closer, her hot, fetid breath on his neck. You are the fool who stared into the abyss and found only himself reflected back. Sora's mind reeled, struggling to comprehend her words, to make sense of the madness that surrounded him, but all he could muster was a terrified whisper. Who are you? Her laughter echoed through the cavern, a sound devoid of joy, devoid of humanity. You can call me, she said, her voice dripping with malice, the harbinger of doom. Sora backed away faster. The woman's body began to blur at the edges, like static in a bad video. She whispered again, voice fading into static and wind. I-P-R, but she was gone. No puff of smoke, no flash, just gone. Sora ran. He didn't stop until he reached home, panting, soaked, shaking. He didn't know how long he'd been running, how long he'd been hiding, but the pounding of his heart echoed the relentless drumming of rain on the rooftops. Thunder grumbled, lightning flashed, momentarily turning the weeping sky into a sickly green. Sora pressed his back against the cool glass of the window, watching the downpour. His breath hitched as another bolt of lightning illuminated the distorted features of a woman standing directly outside his window. Her eyes, two burning embers in the gloom, stared straight at him. Her lips, a slash of pale moonlight on her dark face, curled into a grotesque parody of a smile. Then she was gone. He wasn't safe. She could still get to him. Was she watching him now? Had she been watching him all along? Sora shivered, pulling his soaked clothes tighter around him. What was she? Where had she come from? Why was she after him? Questions that had no answers, only the echo of his own fear and the pounding of his blood in his ears. The rain suddenly stopped. An unnatural stillness fell, heavy and oppressive, broken only by the dripping from the eaves. Sora dared not move, dared not breathe. In the distance, a low growl, the sound of approaching thunder, and then she was there, a dark shape silhouetted against the lightning sky, striding purposefully towards him. Sora screamed, scrambling back from the window. He had to get out of there. He had to get help. He burst through the front door, splashing into the puddles in the street. The wind snatched at his clothes, at his hair, trying to pull him back to the safety of his hiding place. But he forced himself forward, away from the house, away from the danger. The woman was there, she was real. And as he ran, the pounding of his feet on the wet pavement, the wind screaming in his ears, he knew with a terrible certainty that she would find him. She would find him, and then his nightmares would come true. This is the epilogue. It's the end of the story. But if you haven't read the story yet, then this won't make any sense. So go read the story first and then come back here. Okay, now if you have read the story, then you know that our protagonist has just finished swimming in the lake. And now, as he's getting ready to sleep, he's taking off his wet clothes and he hears a small thud as something falls from his pocket. Startled, he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a hard red candy wrapped in clear cellophane. He stares at it for a moment, confused and scared. Then he remembers the girl. The girl had given him the candy before he went swimming. But why? Why did she give him a candy, and why did she tell him not to open it until he got home? What was she trying to do? Was it a trick? Was she trying to poison him? Or was it something else entirely? Something more sinister? He looks at the candy again, its red color glowing faintly in the dark room. He can't help but feel a sense of dread as he slowly unwraps the cellophane. Inside is a small white pill. He doesn't recognize it. It's not the kind of candy he's used to. In fact, it looks exactly like the pills his dad takes, but that's impossible. His dad's pills are kept in a locked box. No one, not even Mom or the girl, knows the combination, so how did she get them? Did she steal them? But why? And what does it mean? What is she trying to do? He feels a sudden surge of anger, of betrayal. He throws the pill back into his pocket and runs to the window. He needs to get away from here. He needs to find her and ask her what she's playing at. But when he opens the window and looks out, he sees that she is nowhere to be found. The room is empty. He is alone. He takes a deep breath and tries to calm himself down. Maybe he's overreacting. Maybe there is a perfectly innocent explanation for everything, but then he remembers the note. The note she left behind, it said, "I'm sorry." Why would she apologize? What did she do? And then he remembers the look on her face, the sadness in her eyes. It all comes rushing back to him, the fear, the confusion, the anger. He feels it all at once. He looks down at the candy in his hand, its bright red color now seeming sinister in the darkness. He doesn't know what to do. He feels like he's in a nightmare, like he's trapped in a story that he doesn't understand. He wants to wake up. He wants to go back to when things were simple, when life made sense, but he knows he can't. He has to face this. He has to find out what's going on. He owes it to himself. He owes it to her. He takes the candy with him as he goes out into the night, searching for answers, searching for the truth. The end.